Here is a brief overview of the exercise left something behind, a mandatory part of driving tests in Australia. When the assessor asks you to stop on the side of the road or park on the side of the road, indicate left for at least 3 seconds worth of blinking and avoid stopping too close to any type of intersection, blind bends, bus stops, and don't park on top of fire hydrants. The examiner will then ask you to drive off. You must indicate right after you check your mirror and then you check your blind spot to ensure that there's no one coming. I'll show you the driver's view at the end of this video, so stay tuned. The last instruction you will receive will be to turn around and come back to the same house, but you don't know when. Don't be too slow and watch any signs along the way. One of the most common fails in driving tests is rolling over the stop line. You have to stop even if there's no traffic at all. People who fail stop signs often say, but there was no one to give way to. You have to come to a complete stop regardless of any traffic. To optimize your viewing angle, you should get as close as possible to the line without exceeding it. If you stop too far from the line, it'll be a lot harder to intercept any fast approaching traffic. I recommend stopping just before the line, ensuring that your bumper is not over the line. As soon as you get a safe gap, you should proceed. Any hesitation and missing opportunities can result in losing points for flow. Often people encounter parked vehicles on the side of the road. Don't slow down because there's more chance that someone's going to catch up from the opposite direction if you slow down significantly. You got to indicate right. You got to check your blind spot as well. When you pass the parked vehicle, indicate left, check your mirror and the blind spot to see if that vehicle started to move. Now, if the assessor asks you to go back to the house, you've got to pick the driveway or a side street to turn around. I chose this driveway because it's relatively wide and it's not too close to any type of intersection, blind bend or a bus stop. If there was a fire hydrant, by the way, that's okay because you're only transiting, you're not stopping or parking. Now, if you start to move forward in less than 2 seconds, and if you keep an eye on your rear view mirror while changing gears, then you don't have to indicate right and check the blind spot. But most candidates take a lot longer. If you've been standing there for 15-20 seconds, I suggest that you check your mirror, indicate right, look over your shoulder before you take off. From this point on, you will not receive any instructions by the assessor. Once again, overtaking parked vehicles on the side of the road, don't forget indication and checks. Now, if there are multiple cars, you can stay on the right side, providing they are not parked too far apart. And then when you pass the last vehicle, indicate left, mirror, check your blind spot on the left side to see if the vehicle started to move. Examiners love stop signs. They will take you through at least a few stop signs. When you see one, laser focus. Make sure you don't overshoot the line, but also don't stop too far from it because you're not going to be able to see the traffic. Now we're getting closer to the destination. It's always best to initially pick the spot that's easily identifiable from a distance. My reference point in this situation was the car parked in the next door driveway. Overshoot your house at least by a driveway. I'll show you later which driveways not to use and what would be considered as a poor choice. This part of the exercise is when they check your observation skills. Check your rear window, your front window, side mirrors, and the rear view mirror. The frequency of changing your viewing angle should not be longer than 3 seconds. Demonstrate to the assessor that nothing's going to slip your eye. Once again, if you start moving immediately after you reverse out and if you keep an eye on the mirror while changing gears, you don't have to indicate and check the blind spot. However, if you wait a little bit longer, it's considered stationary. In that case, indicate your intention, look over your shoulder to see if anyone's overtaking you, and then indicate left to pull over in the same spot. Once you stop, switch your indicator off and wait for the next instruction. In the next part of the video, you'll see my behavior behind the wheel, which is how you are expected to perform in your driving test. If you liked the video so far, please hit the like button, stick around for another couple of minutes, and if you can repeat my actions, you should be able to pass the exercise left something behind. When you receive the instruction to pull over by the side of the road, indicate left for at least about 3 seconds worth of blinking and scan the area to see if you're making the right choice. Don't park near intersections and blind bends, keep away from bus stops, and don't park on top of fire hydrant markings. Now the examiner will ask you to remember the spot where you parked and to drive off. Make sure you check your mirror. If no one's passing you, indicate right, look over your shoulder, and drive off. Avoid driving too slowly at this point and deal with any obstructions and intersections along the way. Stop sign situations are a common reason for people failing their driving assessments. When you make a complete stop, count to 3, 1,000, 2,000. On the third count, you you can proceed providing there's no one to give way to. Never look away from the hazard. Keep an eye on any moving objects such as a car coming from my left side, but the driver gave me an eye contact which reassures me that they are aware of my presence. When you're passing parked cars on the side of the road, you indicate right, look over your shoulder. When you pass the cars, indicate left, mirror, blind spot again before you diverge, and then switch your indicator off. Now, if the assessor asks you to go back to the house, indicate on time, make sure you check your mirror. You don't have to check your blind spot here, because if you indicate it long enough, no one's going to overtake you on the right. If you're using a driveway, get deep enough into the driveway, but make sure that you don't overshoot the letterbox line. If your rear end is sticking out, it will be difficult to end up on the left-hand side of the road. Start reversing, as long as you don't have to give way to anyone, and do your best to reverse out as close as possible to the left curb. If you waited longer than a few seconds from the time you reversed out of a driveway, pay good attention to your rear view mirror, indicate right, look over your shoulder, and drive off. It's still not a good time to relax, because there's quite a few things to do. First of all, don't forget that you have to come back to the house where you started. Once again, overtaking parked vehicles, if you've got more than one car, you can stay in the middle, you can switch your indicator off. Of course, if there's traffic coming from the opposite direction, you would have to zigzag to allow the traffic to flow through. When you pass the last vehicle, check your mirror, indicate left, look over your shoulder again to the left to see if the car started to move. I personally oppose this rule, because if there's no driver in the car, what's the point checking the blind spot? Once again, a stop sign, make sure you don't roll over the line, because it wouldn't matter how good you did the rest of the stuff, rolling over the stop line will fail you immediately. When you get about 50-60 meters away from the place you need to come back to, indicate right and slow down enough to go into the driveway. Check your mirror to see if anyone's trying to overtake you. Slow down significantly here. The crossover curb can be pretty high, so treat it as a speed bump. If you don't see the vehicle approaching you from behind, and if you don't give way to it, the examiner will instantly discontinue your driving test. Once again, your indicator and checks will depend on how long you are standing on the side of the road. If it takes longer than a few seconds, I recommend indicating checking your mirror and looking over your shoulder. Signal left to indicate your intention that you're pulling over again. Be as close as possible to the curb, and once you park, switch your indicator off. Last but not least, I'll show you which driveways to avoid. If your visibility is obstructed by an object that's standing near the driveway, choose a different option, because you're not going to be able to see anything as you go backwards. This will not represent an instant fail, but it will be marked as a poor choice. I can't see anything from here. If it happens to you in the test, edge out slowly and make sure that you don't interfere with anyone else's path. If you choose a driveway, pick a clear driveway without any visual obstructions. As always, feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.